Okay, before taking class, I want to make few things clear. I'm not going to waste my time on giving motivational lecture at all. Okay, because I personally believe until and unless you are self-motivated, no one can motivate you in this world. Okay, so first criteria is self-motivation. Okay, and history subject is full of personalities, and you can means you'll get inspired by this personality if you read about that personality. Without reading them, without knowing them, you are not going to get anything. Second, obviously I'm going to give you certain tips in the class which might be beneficial for you. Like UPSC is actually the game of patience and consistency. Okay, so consistency is actually very important. So next question is, what do you mean by consistency?
Continuous effort.
Continuous effort. What do you mean by continuous effort? How many hours is sufficient to qualify the UPSC exam in Delhi? How many hours? How many hours of studies come? 8 hours is sufficient. Okay, 8 hours study is sufficient to qualify this examination.
Time constant.
Okay, 10 hours, 15 hours, depends on individual. Okay. Okay. See, consistency, what I think, of course, it depends on the individual, but what I think, I personally believe 6 hours daily is sufficient to qualify this exam. 6 hours daily is sufficient to qualify this exam. But consistency is important. And when I say consistency, how many days are there in 1 year? 365. So 6 hours, you can say, into 350 days. This is the meaning of consistency. Okay, this figure is looking very simple on board, but it is not very easy. Okay, are you getting my point? So 350 days into 6 hours is sufficient to qualify examination in 1 year, or maximum you can say 2 years. Okay, 15 days you can take leverage of going to cinema, attending friends' wedding, and all such kind of thing. Okay, clear? Third is books. Many students ask which book I should read. My friend is reading that book, whether this book is good or bad. So NCERT is actually the basic. NCERT is actually the base. Without that, you cannot qualify this exam. Okay, NCERT is not sufficient though. But if you are preparing for this exam, then you must go through NCERT at least. Okay, apart from NCERT, you can follow any book. I'm not going to recommend at all. I'll give you few suggestions, but I'm not going to recommend any particular book that this book is good, this book is bad. But NCERT is compulsory, NCERT is necessary, and 50% of the question you will get from NCERT in prelims as well as in mains examination. More than 50, you can say, when 60% question you will get. Okay, so NCERT is actually important. And remember one thing, read one book multiple times rather than reading multiple books single times. Okay, your friend is reading Spectrum. If you're not comfortable with the Spectrum, then leave it. Take any book. Hundreds of books are available in the market. Okay, ऐसा नहीं कि take out. हिंदी समझते हो ना? Okay, so 90-95% my lecture will be in English, 5-10%. Okay, that would be okay, na?
Yes.
Okay. So NCERT is actually important. Go through NCERT. How many chapters are there in NCERT? 14 chapters. 14-15 chapter is there, I think, in NCERT. So daily one chapter is you can do. Hardly 20-25 pages are there in one chapter. Okay, not more than that. Okay, so go through NCERT, read NCERT, and after reading NCERT, you can choose any book. Okay, Bipin Chandra is there, BL Grover is there. Hundreds of books are available in the market. Spectrum you can also. Spectrum is, remember one thing, Spectrum is important for prelims, good for prelims, but it is not good for mains examination. Okay, generally I don't prefer Spectrum, but it is good for prelims, but not for mains examination. Okay, NCERT is important for mains examination. Okay, more than 90% of the question you will get from NCERT in the mains examination. But it is difficult to actually solve prelims question from the NCERT. But once your base is clear, then you can solve also all the question in the prelims. Each and every year, UPSC generally asks around 15 to 20 question from history. 15 to 20 question. It varies, but average 15 to 16 question will get. And out of 15 to 16, 7-8 question you will get from modern. 7 to 8 question you will get from modern history. Then rest art and culture is there, ancient and medieval history is there. Okay, you'll also get question from that area also. So modern history is more important as compared to ancient, medieval, as well as art and culture. And believe me, suppose you'll get 4 questions from art and culture. Believe me, you're not going to solve more than 2 questions. As a teacher, I also cannot solve all the questions from art and culture, because the nature of the question is actually very tough. Actually, India is very question is actually not generally tough, but India is very diverse country, and it is very impossible to have knowledge of all the areas, all the diversities. Clear? So modern, ancient, medieval, as well as art and culture is the part of your syllabus. So dedicate 50% of energy on modern Indian history and rest 50% on ancient, medieval, as well as art and culture, because maximum question you will get from modern history. This is the trend. But UPSC is again unpredictable. You cannot guess. It is not actually a written rule that you will get maximum question from modern. They may ask also from ancient or medieval, but this is generally the trend. Clear? So first thing, self-motivation. Okay. Aisa nahi ki today you are lecture from topper, you get inspired for few days, and after that, so aisa nahi karna. Second, consistency. Consistency is important. Clear? Consistency means daily, 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, according to your capacity and capability, read. And believe me, reading is also not sufficient until and unless you know how to express. So writing is also again very important for UPSC. So at least write 1 page, 1 question, try to attempt 1 question daily. If you have old NCERT, then at the end of the chapter you will get 3-4 questions. So try to attend that question also. Okay. Then after that, go through previous year question. Okay. That will also be helpful. यहाँ पर टेस्ट भी होंगे. So these are few tips. Read 1 book multiple times. I have read NCERT more than 50 times. But even today when I read NCERT, I get 2 or 3 new things each and every time whenever I read. So read 1 book multiple times. That will be very helpful. Clear? So this is the only tips I have. Okay. Now come to the topic. I'm going to take modern history. Modern Indian history. Modern Indian history. Now, one more thing. This class will be interesting or boring. It is completely dependent on you. If you ask more question, class will be more interesting. If you ask less question or no question, then class will be boring. Believe me. So try to ask questions. Modern Indian history. Okay. कितने लोगों ने पढ़ा है modern? How many of you studied modern history in schools? पढ़ा है? 8th क्लास 9 10th नहीं पढ़ा, भूल गया. History was not in syllabus. Okay. Leave history. Okay, tell me what do you mean by modern? What is the concept of modernity? Modern means new. Anyone else? What do you mean by modern? Huh? Whatever new. Huh? After ancient and medieval modern timescape. Okay. Acha, all of you are modern person. Do you think so? Yes? No? Compare. See, modernity is not unique concept, but it was certainly new idea when medieval era or medieval period actually ended. Okay. Modernity has nothing to do with what you eat, what you wear, how you talk, or how good English you speak. You speak good English, it doesn't make you modern. You speak German, Japanese, Mandarin, any language, it doesn't make you modern. Okay. If you travel in Mercedes car, it is not going to make you modern. Modernity is associated with logical and rational thinking. When you talk, you speak on the basis of logic and rational, that makes you modern person. So modernity has nothing to do with what you wear, how you live. It is not associated with your lifestyle. It is associated with your logical and rational thinking. Scientific temperament should be there. That makes you modern. Have you seen the images of Mahatma Gandhi, Gandhi ji? कैसे दिखते थे वो? Half naked. Okay. So he was half naked, fakir, you can say, sannyasi. So he was modern or not? He was modern person because he used to give logical and rational reasoning. जो उनके argument थे, it was completely based on logic and scientific temperament. Clear? So modern means logical and scientific thinking or temperament. Clear? Now, what do you mean by modern Indian history? Era when person started thinking in logical and rational manner. So in ancient and medieval times, people they were not actually thinking on or speaking on the basis of logic and rationality. Do you think so? In ancient time, there was no logical or rational concept thinking. There was no scientific temperament in ancient and medieval period. I am asking you.
It was both rational and irrational.
Even today, even today, majority of the people, they don't make any sense when they speak. So they are not modern actually. Are you getting my point? So modern history, actually, India was actually colonized by Britishers for more than 200 years. That is true. That is the fact. So most of our history is actually based on the colonial concept. Influence of coloniality is also there in the history. Even today, India is independent. We are celebrating 75 year of India's independence this year, but still we are mentally enslaved. Are you getting my point? So here we are going to study, we are going to tell you some background in the European concept. Okay, when this modern history period actually started, there is no fixed date, but one event that actually India, sorry, India was called golden sparrow. सोने की चिड़िया बोला जाता था. Once upon a time, India was called. सुना है ये? Have you heard? India was called golden sparrow. India was called golden sparrow. Why? India was rich in the resources. Rich in the terms of resources. That's why India was called golden sparrow. How and why India was rich? Actually, lot of fertile land was there. Fertile land. Lot of mineral resources. Mineral resources, abundant mineral resources was available. Third, Indian industries, especially handicraft industries, was far developed. Okay. Apart from these three, trade and commerce was also highly developed. And along with that, India was self-sufficient economy. What do you mean by self-sufficient economy?
Dependent on other.
In terms of Modi ji language, Atmanirbhar. So we were not dependent on anything. So Indian economy was actually self-sufficient in nature. Okay. So we would export a lot of things like spices, textiles, perfume, lot of things we used to export. And we used to take gold and silver for that. Okay. Suppose India is actually importing oil from Gulf country. So in exchange, what do you give? Today, money. What money? Rupees?
$.
We used to take crude oil from Gulf country, na? Even Russia we are taking. So क्या देते हैं हम उनको? We take in exchange of what? Money. Rupees? No. Because no. Dollar. Suna? Because dollar is actually internationally accepted currency. Are you getting my point? But sometime it gets changed. Jese in Russia, so we are taking crude oil from Russia and we are paying not in dollar. Clear? So it depends, but dollar is, you can say, internationally accepted currency in modern period, in current times. Okay. So at that time, we used to take only gold and silver. Because rupee does not have any value in UAE or Saudi Arabia. Okay. Suppose I'm giving you some Chinese currency. So you are going to use that currency in Hyderabad, some biryani shop. Do you think he or she is going to take that currency? No, because it is useless. But if you give dollar, then that shop is automatically, immediately he is going or she is going to accept that currency because it is internationally accepted currency. Are you getting my point? So India was actually called golden sparrow in the medieval period. Sorry. Okay. Because we were rich, we were self-sufficient, and we used to import only gold. We used to take only gold, and we used to export a lot of things to the foreign world. Clear? Okay. I'll come to this topic later. Now, we are going to, I'm going to tell you history in the European concept. Actually, 1453 is very important date. Okay. Why 1453 is very important? See, this is India. This is Middle East, and this is Europe, you can say. Itna samajh jana. This is India, Middle East, then Europe. Okay. India was very rich because the demand of Indian goods was actually high in Middle East as well as in the European continent. Clear? And Indian goods were supplied to Europe via Middle East. Arab traders were there in the medieval times who were actually active in Indian subcontinent. So they used to take the goods from here to here, and from here they used to export to Europe. So in this region, Arab merchants were active, and here Italian traders, merchants were active. They used to export Indian goods in different part of the European continent. Clear? And there was one kingdom that was known as Constantinople. Currently, it is known as, you can say, Turkey region. Okay. Okay. So before 1453, this Constantinople region was actually occupied by Byzantine Empire. It was occupied by Roman Greek Empire, Byzantine Empire. But in 1453, very important event took place. Okay. What happened? Actually, this Byzantine Empire was actually overthrown by Ottoman Empire. Ottoman Empire. Ottoman Empire means Muslim rulers. They defeated the Christian rulers. So very important event actually took place in 1453. Clear? And this region came under the control of Muslim ruler, or you can say Ottoman Empire. So earlier Europeans, they used to trade, they used to take goods from Arab trader, and they used to actually distribute in the European markets. Now this trade route was actually blocked. Suppose there is bilateral relation between India and Afghanistan, but our relation is not good with Pakistan. So trade route has been blocked by Pakistan between India and Afghanistan. So we used to export our goods via Iran. You know that? So similarly, this trade route was actually blocked. And at that time, it was not possible for Europe to survive without India. Why? Like, you can survive without cotton, but spices. What was the importance of spices at that time? Why Europe was not able to survive without these spices? Yes. क्या करते थे spices का? Medicinal values, very good. Spices has medicinal property. Second, medicinal properties. First, second. What food? खाने में खाते थे. Do you really think so? Even today, Europeans, they don't consume spices. Huh? क्या करना है? Here. Yes. To preserve pickles. Okay. It was used. Yes, he was right. It was used for the preservation purpose. Do you know the hibernation concept? There is one term. What is hibernation? Huh? What happened in winter season? What do you mean by hibernation? Why? Yes, very good. Because of the adverse temperature, especially in the winter season, they go for hibernation, long sleep. So when animals goes for hibernation, then it is not possible for human to actually kill the animals. Okay. So just before the start of winter season, Europeans, they used to actually kill the animals for 1 or 2 months. Are you getting my point? They used to kill the animals for just before the start of winter for next 1 or 2 months. And they used to preserve in the salt. But important of spices was there because when you store the meat in the salt, then its shelf life is going to, or you can say that meat is going to degenerate very quickly. But when you preserve it in the spices, then its shelf life will automatically increase. और जो उसके nutrients, mineral, जो content है, that will also be preserved. That's why there was large demand of spices, especially in the European continent. Okay, so they used to preserve the meat. Okay, clear? So that's why I said it was not possible for the Europe to survive without the India, or you can say East. Indonesia, they also used to actually export these spices. Indian subcontinent, they also used to export these spices. So it was not possible for the West to survive without the East. That was the importance of the East. East means you can say basically the Indian subcontinent. That was the importance of India. Okay, now come again. This trade route was actually blocked. Okay, so there was basically urge or desperation for the new trade route. There was urge and desperation for the new trade routes. So a lot of European rulers, especially Spanish ruler, Portuguese ruler, they actually invested in what? Voyages, sea trade. Okay, so they invested huge amount in actually sea voyages to actually find new route, because this route was actually blocked. Are you getting my point? This route was actually blocked. So there was actually desperation. Okay. Another important event also took place because of this fall of Constantinople in 1453. What? Renaissance also started in Europe. What do you mean by Renaissance?
Rebirth.
Rebirth. What do you mean by rebirth? Actually, when Christianity came into existence, they labeled each and every culture, especially in the European subcontinent, as a pagan culture. Pagan is basically a derogatory term. Those who do not believe in Jesus Christ or Christianity, they were actually the pagans. Not only they rejected their culture, their religion, but they also rejected their knowledge. Okay, so when these Christian power, they were defeated by the Muslim ruler, so they started actually pondering, they started actually thinking, and they realized that we were defeated not because of Muslim ruler, but because of our own problem. Like India was actually colonized by Britishers. Why? Because Indian society were divided on the basis of caste, creed, religion, region, etc., etc. Clear? So in same way, they started thinking, and they realized that we left scientific temperament, logical and rationality, and we started believing completely or blindly in the church. And that became the cause of degeneration of our society. So Renaissance started. Renaissance means revival of classical learning, ancient learning, on the basis of logic and rationality. Clear? So Renaissance also started after this event in Europe. And after Renaissance, Reformation started, means people started questioning the authority of the church, because at that time the polity of Europe was actually completely different. Don't worry, I will dictate also in the class. I'll give you notes. Okay, sorry. Okay. What are you saying?
Renaissance.
Renaissance. Okay. 1453, Renaissance started in Europe. Okay. And just after the Renaissance, Reformation and Enlightenment also started in Europe. Actually, whole of the Europe subcontinent was actually dominated by church. Okay. Church was the main authority who was ruling all over the European continent through the local rulers. So church was actually the religious head, and Spain at that time was the political head of the whole Europe. Okay. And before 14th, 15th century, it was not possible for common man to go against the authority of the church. Before 14th, 15th century, it was not possible for common man of Europe to actually challenge the authority of the church. Are you getting my point? Like in current times, you cannot challenge the authority of the Islamic text or scriptures. What will happen? You know the result. So at that time, church was also very brutal in Europe. So common man, it was not very easy for them. Life was not very easy for them. Okay, like Bruno, he challenged the authority of the church and he was immediately burned at stake. A lot of people were killed who tried to challenge the authority of the church. But after this Renaissance, people started questioning the authority of the church. Like church used to believe that earth is basically flat. So people started questioning on what logic you are saying earth is flat. Galileo invented telescope also and showed them that see earth is not flat. Okay, but immediately he was arrested and put in jail. Because Galileo or any scholar of that time, they were not just challenging the authority of the church, they were also challenging the authority of the book, holy book. So after Renaissance, the Reformation and Enlightenment took place. Okay, इसके पहले का जो period है, that period is known as Dark Age in the European history. That period is known as Dark Age in the European history. And after this, it is believed that modern period actually started in Europe. Okay, 15th century, 17th century, 18th century, 19th century. Okay, modernity actually started in. So do you think Afghanistan is modern state? Do you believe so? No. Afghanistan is not modern state. Clear? Even Pakistan is not modern state. Okay. Recently there was controversy on QR code. If you have seen the news, huh? उन्होंने बोला कि QR code, it is derogatory to our holy scriptures and all such kind of nonsense, and so they vandalized the store. So Reformation actually took place, Renaissance took place, and during this period, the European rulers, they invested a lot in actually adventure, sea voyage. Why? Because it was not possible for Europe to survive without the East. Okay, so multiple event was actually taking place at that time in Europe. Now connect all the dots. Trade route was blocked, so new route was found. Renaissance took place, so new invention at that time also took place. Like mariner compass was discovered, which was very helpful in sea trade or sea voyage, sea journey. Printing press was developed. Okay, people started building big ships. Investment was in the technology, research and development, you can see. So multiple events took place at that time. And we were told that because of the Britishers, we also became modern, because they brought the concept of modernity from the West. And before that, we were actually idiots. We were told. Are you getting my point? That's why I said in the beginning that most of the history we are actually reading in the European context and not in the Indian context properly. Clear? So that is the case. And after this event, advent of the European started. Advent of the European actually started. Like Columbus, he took sea journey or sea voyage for India, but fortunately, or you can say unfortunately, he reached to some other continent. Clear? So for two purposes, to find a new sea route or new route to India, Columbus left from Europe. And second, Pope also actually met Columbus. And he said that go and find a scope of Christianity in the newly discovered land. Clear? So Columbus reached somewhere. Then finally, who came to India? India was discovered by whom? Vasco da Gama. Okay, though India was not discovered by, but ऐसा हम लोग पढ़ते हैं. Are you getting my point? Clear? This is Europe. This is Africa. This is what? Cape of Good Hope. And this is India. So journey started. So via Cape of Good Hope, finally, Vasco da Gama reached to Calicut. Vasco da Gama reached to Calicut. So who was the first European who came to India? Who was the first European who came to India? Portuguese. Vasco da Gama. Wrong answer. ऐसा कभी बोलना नहीं. Vasco da Gama was the first European who came via land route. Sorry, who came via sea route. But before Vasco da Gama, thousands of the Europeans already came to India. They knew about India. Are you getting my point? So Vasco da Gama was the first European or Portuguese sailor who came via sea route. Okay. So don't get confused. Clear? 1498. At that time, Calicut, it was ruled by Zamorin king. Zamorin is basically the anglicized name. Zamorin is basically the anglicized term or word. इसका जो real name है, real name is Samuthri. Samuthri means समुद्र के पास का area. Are you getting my point? So, but it is basically, it became Zamorin because they were not able to pronounce Samudri. Clear? So they were welcomed by the Zamorin king. Clear? But when Vasco da Gama landed at Calicut, he was welcomed there, but there was pressure on the local ruler because Arab merchants were already there. Indian merchants were also active there. Chinese merchants were also active there in this region. Okay. So they did not allow Vasco da Gama to do any kind of trade here. So the first visit of Vasco da Gama in India was basically unsuccessful. Not waste. It was basically unsuccessful. But let us suppose in this journey, Vasco da Gama, or you can say Portuguese ruler, invested some amount. Okay, there was some investment in this journey. Let us suppose 1 lakh was the total investment. When Vasco da Gama, after this visit, returned to Europe, he loaded his ship with the spices. And he went there and he sold the spices in the European market. And he made 60 lakh rupees. So 60 times profit was actually made by Vasco da Gama, or you can say Portuguese ruler. So now you can imagine the importance of Indian trade or spices in the European market. That was the kind of demand. Means people were willing to pay more than 60 times. Suppose cost of Indian spices in India is 100 rupees for 50 gram. Then there they were willing to pay 6,000 rupees. So that was the demand. From this figure, you can understood the importance of the spices or Indian trade or Indian subcontinent. Okay, importance of Indian subcontinent or East, you can say. I'm talking only about the spices, not the textile and other things. Clear? So first visit was unsuccessful, and despite unsuccessful visit, he made 60 times profit. Okay, and from this episode, the arrival of European actually started. So first Portuguese came. Vasco da Gama was Portuguese, and after Portuguese, Dutch came, then English, French, beach made Danish, Denmark, Swedish people also came. So advent of or arrival of European actually started after this event. Clear? Vasco da Gama is going to come again. And over a period of time, they were able to actually extract some concession from the local ruler, because after this episode, they knew that it is not possible to do trade. Okay, so they invested in big ship having what? Cannon. Having cannon over there. They invested in military technology because they knew that to rule the Indian subcontinent, they have to fight the war with the opponent like Arab trader, local business class and all such people. So they are going to invest huge amount on the military technology. Especially big ship were actually built by them. Cannon were actually mounted on the ship. Pirates of Caribbean, dekha ye sab na? So, clear? That was the case. And in 1510 or by 1510, you can say, lot of factory were actually opened by Portuguese here at the west coast, and also some factory at the east coast of Indian subcontinent. That was the case. That is clear? Any doubt, any question if you have, you can ask. In 1510, Albuquerque, he came to India as a Governor General. He was the Portuguese Governor General and he came to India. And he fought the battle. And that battle is known as Battle of Goa. That is known as Battle of Goa. Okay. Portuguese, they came here for what? Trade. And without having political domination, you cannot survive in the trade for a longer period of time. Are you getting my point? Suppose I am new to Hyderabad. If I am going to start a business and you people are also engaged in same business activity, then there is very high probability that you are not going to allow me to establish my business in your area. But suppose I have support of KCR, then you can't do anything. Suppose I am the election financer of KCR or Chief Minister, then what you can do? Nothing. Okay. So without political domination, your economy cannot survive for a longer period of time. You can do some kind of trade, but for a very short term, not for very long term. Are you getting my point? So that was the case. So they fought actually the first battle to acquire the political domination in very small region, that is the Goa. And at that time, Goa was ruled by Sultan Adil Shah of Bijapur. Sultan Adil Shah of Bijapur. And in this battle, Adil Shah was actually defeated by Albuquerque. Okay, and remember one thing, Goa was the first state in India which was colonized by any European power. And Goa is the last state which was liberated from any colonial power. India got independence in 47 from the Britishers. Goa got the independence in 1961 from the Portuguese. So Goa was the first state which was colonized by any European power, and it was the last state of India which was liberated from any colonial. Are you getting my point? So from here, okay, the story of arrival of the Europeans actually started in real manner. I hope this is clear. So right. Right. Heading then advent of ADVENT, advent of Europeans. Advent of Europeans. Right. Right. India was called Golden Sparrow. India was called Golden Sparrow because of highly fertile alluvial plain, comma, abundant mineral resources, comma, highly developed handicraft industries, and trade and commerce. Trade and commerce. Next point. Indian economy was self-sufficient at that time. Indian economy was self-sufficient. Indian economy was self-sufficient at that time. And balance of payment was in favor of India. You know the meaning of balance of payment? Huh? Import, export. Huh? Balance of payment was in favor of India. Means we used to export more and import very less. Okay, next point. We would export spices. We would export spices, comma, textiles, comma, perfumes, etc. And in exchange, we used to take mostly gold and silver. Okay, that's why India was called golden, full of gold. Huh? And especially in the Indian women, they are actually very fond of gold. Huh? Clear? Next paragraph change, right? After the fall of Constantinople, in 1453, in bracket, right? In bracket, right? Ottoman Empire defeated Byzantine Empire. That is the meaning of fall of Constantinople. Ottoman Empire defeated Byzantine Empire. Ottoman Empire defeated Byzantine Empire. Bracket close. Right. The trade route between Asia and Europe. The trade route between Asia and Europe. The trade route between Asia and Europe came under the control of. Came under the control of Muslim rulers. Came under the control of Muslim ruler, and this trade route was blocked. And this trade route was blocked. And this route was blocked. Okay, next point. So there was an urge. So there was an urge. So there was an urge or desperation. Urge or desperation to find to find new route to Asia. To find new route to Asia. Clear? Because at that time it was not possible for Europe. Because at that time it was not possible for Europe. It was not possible for Europe to survive without Asia or East, you can write. To survive without Asia or East. Same thing. Next point. So European ruler invested. So European ruler invested in sea voyage. In sea voyage. And Columbus left for India in this background. And Columbus left for India in this background. And ended up accidentally discovering America. Ended up discovering America. Okay. Clear? Next point. Apart from spices and textiles, apart from spices and textiles, there was another region. There was another important region. There was another important region. Important region. Why he took voyage for India? Why he took voyage for India? Because Pope sent him. Because Pope sent him to see how the conversion to Christianity might be undertaken. Conversion to Christianity might be undertaken in India. Conversion to Christianity might be undertaken to India. Okay. Next point. Vasco da Gama arrived in India. Vasco da Gama arrived in India in 1498 in 1498, and no need. Actually, that is part of world history. When I'll take world history, I'll discuss Renaissance, Reformation, Enlightenment in detailed manner. So I'm not going to discuss Renaissance here. Okay. Vasco da Gama arrived in India in 1498 via Cape of Good Hope. Via Cape of Good Hope. Good Hope. And landed in Calicut. And landed in Calicut. And he was welcomed by Zamorin king. He was welcomed by Zamorin king. Clear? Next point. But this visit of Vasco da Gama was not very successful. But this visit of Vasco da Gama was not very successful. because there was dominance of Arab traders in this region. Dominance of Arab traders in this region. Clear? So Vasco da Gama. Next. या नोट करके लिखना. Note. Portuguese introduced. They also introduced many crops in India. Sometimes UPSC also asks this question. Portuguese introduced various new crop like tobacco, chili, maize, MAIZE, etc. So note करके लिखना to remember. Next is Albuquerque or Albuquerque. ALBUQURQE. Albuquerque. Right. Later on, Albuquerque came to India. As a Governor General. And he invaded Goa in 1510. To acquire political domination in this region. And he defeated Sultan of Bijapur, Adil Shah. Note करके लिखना. Note it down. Note. Goa was the first state which was colonized by any European power. Goa was the first state which was colonized by any European power. And it was the last state of India. Which was liberated from European power. European power. Clear? And over a period of time, Portuguese also acquired Diu, Daman, Bombay region, etc. So Britishers came in. East India Company came in India. In which year? 1850? 1608. So Portuguese came in 1498. Much before. Even century before Britishers. Even 100 years before Britishers. But not Portuguese, but Britishers who came 100 years later from Portuguese. They dominated the Indian subcontinent and not the Portuguese. Why? Are you getting my point? Portuguese came 100 years before Britishers, but who dominated the Indian subcontinent for a longer period of time, for more than 200 years? Britishers and not the Portuguese. They were limited to Diu Daman as well as Goa only. Why? What was the reason? Greed. Portuguese, they were not greedy people. Acha, Britishers were more greedy as compared to the Portuguese. More soldiers, and they did not have any soldier or less soldier. ऐसा नहीं है. See, Britishers, either you hate Britishers or you love Britishers. Give one credit to them that they were very smart people, and these Portuguese, they were idiot. That's why they were not able to survive in this competition. Competition of what? Means to acquire the Indian subcontinent, to establish the colony. So in the colonial race, they were actually very stupid as compared to the Britishers. Why they were stupid? The reason is very simple. Britishers came as a trader. They did not interfere in the socio-religious activity of Indians. But Portuguese, when they acquired Goa, they started killing the local Hindus. Why? Because they refused to convert into the Christianity. So those who converted into Christianity, they were accepted. Otherwise, those who opposed them, they were actually killed by Portuguese people. Okay. So this was the main reason that they were mainly confined to Goa, Diu and Daman region. So there was a lot of local resistance against the Portuguese. So they invested all their resources to actually suppress this local rebellion. Britishers took the support of Indians to colonize the Indians. But here Portuguese, they started converting the people on a very large scale. So they killed thousands of people in Goa. That process is known as, if you know the term, Inquisition. Goa Inquisition. There is also one very good book, the Goan Inquisition. So those who opposed, those who refused to convert into Christianity, thousands of the people actually killed in Goa. The atrocities of Portuguese was far more than the Mughal or any Muslim ruler. Are you getting my point? That's why there was a lot of resistance against the Portuguese. There will be resistance against the Britishers also, but in later phase. Initially, most of the Indian people, they supported the Britishers because they never interfered in the religious activities. Albuquerque in 1515, he banned sati practice in Goa. Though I'm not here to defend sati, but that was actually the interference in the religious activity, cultural practices. Similarly, in lot of temples were also destroyed by these Portuguese. Inquisition. Inquisition is basically the institution that was not established in India. Basically, it was established in Spain. Basically, I told you, Pope, he was the religious head, and Spanish ruler, he was the political head. So those who tried to challenge the authority of the church in Europe, the Spanish ruler, they created actually one institution, and the job of that institution was basically to kill all those people or to suppress all those people who used to challenge the authority of the church. Clear? So same institution was also created in Goa also, and a lot of Hindus were basically killed. Not only Hindus, many Muslims were also killed who refused to convert into the Christianity. That was the case. Okay, Inquisition took place. So they were not visionary. They are not confined to trade and commerce as well as political domination. They were involved in something else. Okay, and that became the cause of degeneration of this Portuguese rule in India. So they were confined only to Goa. Now, Goa is very small state, and Diu and Daman. Clear? Bombay. I'll tell you a story about Bombay later. Wait for that. Okay. So Portuguese. And after Portuguese, who is going to come? Dutch. Okay. 1603 or 1604, I think. Dutch came to India and they established factory in India. Okay. But they were not Dutch came, this is suppose India, this is Sri Lanka, and this is one island, you know, Indonesia. So Dutch, they were confined mainly to Indonesia. So they set up a lot of factories here at the east coast as well as at the west coast as well as in Bengal. But they were mainly confined to, like India was colonized by Britishers for more than 200 years. Okay. Similarly, Indonesia was colonized by Dutch. So Indonesia was basically the colony of Dutch. So Dutch were the second player who arrived in Indian subcontinent. Okay, how this happened? Very interesting story. Actually, one Dutch Christian missionaries also arrived in India to actually promote the Christianity. And one day he found jackpot. What was the jackpot? That the map, new route, sea route. And he printed that map in the Europe. So many other countries like Britain, Dutch, many other players, they came to know about new sea route. Okay. So Dutch were the second who arrived in India for trade and commerce purpose. But they were mainly confined to Indonesia. So this is the story of Dutch. Okay. Two important events but took place that is associated with Dutch. One is 1623. And 1741 event. Britishers also came to India in 1608. Okay. Actually, when Britishers came in India in 1608, I'm going to discuss in detail about the arrival of the Britishers. Here, Britishers came in 1608 and very soon they started developing factories here in India. Along with India, they also tried to dominate the Indonesian region, this island. Why? Because of the spices. This island was also known as Spice Island. Okay. But in 1623, hundreds of British EIC British merchants were actually killed by the Dutch. So after this episode, that episode is known as Ambon or Ambona. Sorry. Ambona tragedy. What is known as tragedy? There is one Ambon island in Indonesia, and at that island, a lot of English merchants were actually killed by the Dutch. And that episode is known as Ambona tragedy. And after this episode, Britishers, they never looked toward Indonesia. They were mainly confined to Indian subcontinent only. So they invested all their energy to Indian subcontinent. Clear? And second important event took place in 1741. Second important episode took place in 1741. Actually, this kingdom was known as Travancore. After establishing their firm rule in Indonesian region, Dutch made an effort in 1741 to occupy actually the Indian subcontinent, especially the southern region. Clear? So they invaded Travancore. So in 1741, Travancore was actually invaded by Dutch. But at that time, Travancore was ruled by a very famous ruler. He was known as Martand Verma. That name is also given in NCERT. Okay. So Travancore was ruled by Martand Verma, and between Dutch and Travancore army, battle took place. That battle is known as Battle of Kolachal. That battle is known as Battle of Kolachal. And remember one thing, in this battle, Dutch were completely defeated by the army of Travancore. So after this episode, Dutch were confined to Indonesian island, and they are going to make one more effort that I'll discuss later. But after this event, they were actually mainly confined to Indonesian island, and they left the Indian subcontinent. Clear? So two important events is associated with the Dutch in Indian history. One is Ambona tragedy, and second is Battle of Kolachal. So second Battle of Kolachal, UPSC generally asked, but Ambon tragedy is not very important, but you must remember. So Dutch related, there is only two episodes. One is Ambona tragedy that took place at the Ambon Island, and second is Kolachal, Battle of Kolachal, between Travancore army as well as Dutch. Sometime UPSC asks, Battle of Kolachal took place between Travancore Dutch, Travancore French, Travancore British, or British Dutch. So in this way, UPSC may ask question. Clear? Okay. So Dutch were actually the second player, second contender who came to Indian subcontinent. Okay, but they were mainly confined to Indonesia. I hope this is clear. Okay. Right. Dutch East India Company. Dutch were the first. Dutch East India Company, right? Dutch were the first. Dutch were the first. Dutch were the first to break the Portuguese monopoly. Dutch were the first to break the Portuguese monopoly in the East. In the East. But they were mainly confined to Indonesia. They were mainly confined to Indonesia. Mainly confined to Indonesia. Clear? Next point. Two important events. Two important event is associated with Dutch in Indian history. In Indian history. First, Ambona tragedy. Amboyna. Amboyna. Ambona tragedy. Right? Under this, right? Ambona tragedy, right? It was a massacre of East India Company merchants. It was a massacre of East India Company merchant. East India Company merchant in Ambon Island. In Ambon Island. Ambon, Ambon Island. By Dutch. By Dutch. In 1623. In 1623. And after this episode, Britishers were confined towards Britishers were confined to the Indian subcontinent. Confined to the Indian subcontinent. Confined to the Indian subcontinent. Okay, second episode, second. Battle of Kolachal. Battle of Kolachal. Battle of Kolachal. 1741. Right. This battle was between Dutch and Travancore ruler Martand Burma. Dutch and Travancore ruler Martand Burma. Okay, and Dutch were defeated by Travancore army. Dutch were defeated by the Travancore army. Clear? So two important episodes associated with Dutch in India. Amboyana tragedy as well as Battle of Kolachal. Clear? Any doubt? Any question? No. Okay. So second player, Dutch. Now third, very important player. British East India Company. अच्छा, okay. अच्छा, Dutch were actually defeated by Martand Burma. Okay. Dutch were defeated by Martand Burma. Clear? British East India Company. Very important player, very important contender. Okay. See here. In 1608, Sir William Hawkins arrived in India. In 1608, Sir William Hawkins arrived in India. Okay. He landed at Surat. From Surat, he went to Mughal court. Where? Delhi. No. At that time, the capital of Mughal Empire was not Delhi, but Agra. Okay. At that time, the capital of Mughal Empire was Agra. Who was the ruler at that time? Who was the Mughal ruler? No idea. See, at that time, Jahangir was the ruler. He was the Mughal ruler, Mughal king. Okay. And William Hawkins met Jahangir. Clear? He was also there for some time, but the visit of William Hawkins was not successful because reason is very simple. Because at that time, the Mughal court was dominated by many other merchants who did not allow actually to establish English factory in Indian subcontinent. Okay, but first English factory was established in 1613 at Surat. First English factory was established at Surat. So William Hawkins' visit was not actually very successful, but he was able to establish one factory because of his effort. First factory was established, English factory was established at Surat in 1613. But remember one thing, in some book, it is given that first English factory was established at Surat. But in many books, it is also given that first English factory was established not at Surat but at Masulipatam. मसूलीपट्टनम जानते हो ना? नहीं पता? मछलीपट्टनम कहाँ पर है? आंध्र प्रदेश. So Masulipatam. Okay. If UPSC asks this question and give both the option, then risk is yours. I am not responsible in any way. So Surat, Masulipatam. Okay, because some historians believe that Masulipatam factory was established in 1611 and Surat factory was established but this factory was closed down later because another factory was established at Madras, which was developed into Fort St. George. Okay, so this is the information that I have provided to you. Risk is yours. You decide what you want to choose. Clear? Clear. So the visit of William Hawkins was not very successful. Clear? But in 1615, Thomas Roe came to India. Thomas Roe came to India, and again he reached in the Mughal court, Agra, and he was there for 3 years. And because of his effort, his persuasion, English or Britishers, they got actually right to actually establish few factory at the western coast. Okay, as well as in the eastern coast later on. So because of the persuasion, because of the effort of Thomas Roe, lot of factory, small factory were actually established by the English. Because the Mughal court language was basically Persian. They did not speak Urdu or Hindi or any local language. They used to speak basically the Persian. And he was also well versed in Persian. Suppose you qualify the UPSC examination, and if you choose IFS, Indian Foreign Services, and you are posted in China or suppose in Germany, so you must know the local language of that country. Without that, you cannot be the good foreign officer. Are you getting my point? So he was very well versed in Persian. He persuaded Jahangir, and because of his persuasion, because of his effort, a lot of factory in India actually started opening by the East India Company or the Britishers, you can say. Clear? So to first William Hawkins and second Thomas Roe, two important personality came to India, and because of the effort of Thomas Roe, Britishers, they established their rule in India because they got the concession to set up factory. Clear? So note it down. British East India Company, right? In 1608, William Hawkins came to India and landed in Surat. Came to India and landed in Surat. Landed in Surat. Landed in Surat. And from there, he reached to the Mughal court. From there, he reached to the Mughal court at Agra. Mughal court. He reached to the Mughal court at Agra. And at that time, Jahangir was the Mughal emperor. Jahangir was the Mughal emperor. Next point. This visit of William Hawkins was not successful. This visit of William Hawkins was not successful. though Britishers established first factory at Surat in 1613. In bracket, right? Many historians also believe that first British factory was established not in Surat but at Masulipatam. Many historians believe that first English factory was established not at Surat but at Masulipatam. Machilipatnam. Okay, next point. Thomas Roe, R-O-E. Thomas Roe, right? He came in Jahangir's court in 1615. He came to Jahangir's court in 1615 and lived there for 3 years. Next point. He was well versed in Persian. And he successfully persuaded Jahangir. And got many concession. And after this, various factories were established or opened by EIC. Various factories were opened by EIC. Okay. See, 3 important factories, very important. 3 important British factory. One is at Madras, second is at Bombay, and third is at Calcutta. Okay. Clear? Madras at that time was ruled by Nayak ruler. Okay. And from Nayak ruler, actually, they purchased some area and established their factory. Some land was actually purchased by East India Company and they established factory. And in 1639, this factory was developed into fort. How this was developed into fort? This factory, that area was actually fortified. So that's why that become fort. Area was fortified. So that factory became fort. Clear? And it was named Fort St. George. Fort St. George. Okay. Second, come to the Bombay. Bombay was under the control of Portuguese. I told you, na? It was occupied by Diu Daman as well as Bombay. Later on, it was occupied by Portuguese. So, I don't remember exactly whether the daughter of the ruler of Portuguese or the sister. I don't know what was the relation. I think she was the daughter, okay, of Portuguese ruler. She was married to Prince of England. Catherine Braganza was the name. of that lady, and she was married to the Prince of England, Charles II. And Bombay was given to Prince Charles in the form of dowry in 1661. 1660. So Bombay was given as a part of dowry. Catherine Brigenza married to, that name is not important. Why I'm telling you, now it is the Bombay is the property of the British government, Crown. Okay. And in 1667, EIC took Bombay area. Bombay is basically island. Bombay kya hai? It is basically island. So Bombay Island was actually taken by East India Company from the British government on a lease. Lease समझते हो? On a lease. Clear? And there they developed another factory, and later it was converted into fort. So two important fort, Fort St. George and Bombay Fort, 1639 and 1668. Clear? And third, British administrator Job Charnock, 1698. He purchased 3 villages in Bengal. He purchased 3 villages in Bengal. Name of that village is given in NCERT. Sutanati, TI, Govindpuri, and Kalikata. He purchased 3 villages, Govindpuri, Sutanati, and Kalikata. And these 3 villages was later developed into Calcutta city. And here Fort William was established. Fort William was established. So 3 important factory, you must remember, 3 important fort. Madras, St. George Fort, 1639, Bombay, 1668. And third, Fort William, Calcutta Fort, 1690. Sorry, 8. I hope this is clear. Just note it down. Note. Later on, note करके लिखना. Just note. Later on, right? St. George Fort was developed. St. George Fort was developed in Madras. St. George Fort was developed in Madras in 1639. In 1639, on the land which was purchased from Nayaka ruler, for a factory. Next point. In 1668, Bombay Fort was developed. Which was gifted by Portuguese, to the crown. Crown means British crown, British head. And third, right, in 1698, Job Charnock, CHARNOCK, Job Charnock purchased 3 villages. That is Govindpur, Sutanati, and Kalikata. Govindpur, Sutanati, and Kalikata. which was later developed into Calcutta city, which was later developed into Calcutta city, which was later developed into Calcutta city, and Fort William was established here. And Fort William was established here. Fort William was established here. Clear? So this is the arrival of Britishers. Three important players. First, Portuguese, second, Dutch, and third. So from this area, a lot of question could be asked, especially in the prelims examination, but not in the mains examination. Okay. Write one heading, then I'll discuss. Right. Nature of establishment of British rule in India. Nature of establishment of British rule in India. Nature of establishment of British rule in India. See, UPSC may also in mains examination especially discuss the nature of establishment of British rule in India. 10 marks question. How are you going to define? How you are going to define the nature of establishment of British rule in India? Means how, in what manner, why the British rule in India was actually established. What was the intention of the Britishers? Okay, so lot of pro, or you can say a lot of argument is there either in the favor of the Britishers or against the Britishers. So there are two school of thought. When I say school of thought, तो कोई ऐसा, there is no physical school. School of thought means there are two version, two belief system. So there are two school of thought. One is dominated by, you can say, European historian, and second is dominated by nationalist historian. One is dominated by European historian and second is dominated by, so both side of argument is important. Actually, this school of thought, European historian, they said that actually they believed actually that India, it was not the intention of the Britishers to actually occupy the India. They came as a trader. They were actually active in trade and commerce activity, and they were not actually interested in any kind of political activities. So this school of thought, especially the European historian, they believed in such concept, or they propagated, you can say at that time, this concept. And they believed that India was actually conquered by the Europe in a fit of absent absent-mindedness. India was conquered by the foreign power in the fit of absent-mindedness. What do you mean by absent-mindedness? Actually, absent-mindedness means it was not the intention of the Britishers. Actually, at that time, there was no political power. And without political power, there was anarchy all over India. And one day, Britishers, they found themselves as a ruler of India. That was the argument that was actually propagated by the European historian, basically. They believed that actually we came to India as a trader. It was not our intention actually to conquer or to rule India. But there was anarchy. Suppose there is no government in Hyderabad for 2 days, what will happen? Suppose there is no police in Hyderabad for 5 days, what will happen? Chaos, anarchy will be there. Okay, so he said that there was no actually political arrangement or administration, so it was our responsibility to take over the administration, and one day we found ourselves as a ruler of India. Why this kind of argument was actually propagated by these historians? Because this kind of argument absolved them from any kind of guilt associated with the invasion of India. Okay, because this kind of argument actually absolved them from any kind of guilt associated with the invasion of India. That's why this argument was actually propagated by the European historian. I hope this is clear. So this was the one school of thought, one particular belief system that was propagated by the European historian. We conquered India in a fit of absent-mindedness because there was a lot of chaos and all such kind of thing. So it was our duty to actually interfere into the political activities. It was not our intention. Okay, but after some times, the nationalist historian, they started challenging this viewpoint. They said that, okay, wonderful. So how you started ruling African subcontinent? Sorry, African continent, American continent. So the nationalist historian, they gave another viewpoint and they said that wherever Britishers initially, yes, it is true that they went as a trader. But whenever they got the suitable opportunity, they started interfering in the political activities. So it was well-intentioned, well-planned strategies. Because this is not the case specific only to the India. Wherever they went, they started colonizing, they started dominating that area over a period of time whenever they got the suitable opportunity. In India, they got the opportunity, especially in the 18th century, because in 18th century, very important ruler, either you love him or hate him, but you cannot ignore him, that is Aurangzeb. He died in 1707. He was very brutal, he was very cruel. So till he was alive, Britishers, they did not actually dare to actually challenge or dare to actually occupy the Indian subcontinent. But when he died, empire got disintegrated. Because the successor of Aurangzeb, they were actually very weak. If you have gone through the first chapter, what happened? After the death of Aurangzeb, the three sons of Aurangzeb started fighting among themselves. And Bahadur Shah, he became the ruler. But he was 65-year-old. Okay. So he was not able to manage the affair properly because Aurangzeb, he was very cruel, very brutal. His administration was very centralized. These are the terms that is given in NCERT. Administration was completely centralized. Centralized means each and everything was actually controlled from the center. Okay, there was no concept of decentralizing or decentralization or power, giving power to or delegating power to the lower authority. But when Bahadur Shah became the king, he started appeasing the opponent of the Mughal Empire. Like he released Sahu Maharaj, that is given in first chapter, first page. He released Sahu Maharaj of Maratha. Okay. He adopted conciliatory policy towards the Rajputs, Jat, Bundelas. Okay. And ultimately in 1712, he died. And after that, the role of kingmaker came into the picture. Earlier, king used to fight among themselves, or the contender of the throne, they used to fight among themselves. But now, kingmaker, like Turani nobles, Afghani nobles, Sayyid nobles, Indian Musalman, they started playing the role of kingmaker. Okay. After that, Jahandar Shah became the ruler with the help of his noble, his wazir, Zulfikar Khan. That is given in NCERT. That's why I told you go through first and second chapter. Without that, you cannot understand the background. Zulfikar Khan became the kingmaker. And very soon, he was actually replaced by, Jahandar Shah was replaced by Farrukh Shiar. But Farrukh Shiar was also very weak ruler. He became the ruler with the help of Sayyid brother. He became the ruler with the help of Sayyid brother. And he was also killed by Sayyid brother and Muhammad Shah. Later he was named as Muhammad Shah Rangila. He became the ruler. Okay. So role of kingmaker also came into the prominence. So disintegration of empire was actually taking place because of the weak successor of the Aurangzeb. And after 20-30 years, Britishers got the opportunity. And during this period also, many of the local regional players, they started asserting their sovereignty. Like Bengal got independent, Hyderabad got independent, Karnataka got independent from Hyderabad, Awadh got independence. Are you getting my point? Clear? So these were the important event that were actually taking place at that time. Role of kingmaker was actually important more than the Mughal emperor themselves. Clear? So empire started disintegrating. So when you are united, it is not possible for enemy to defeat you. But when you are disintegrated, then it is very easy for enemy to actually suppress you, to defeat you, to rule or to conquer you. Clear? That was the case. So in India also, whenever they got the opportunity, when Mughal empire started disintegrating, they got the suitable opportunity to interfere into the political affair. And I'll tell you the story like Battle of Plassey and all such thing in detail. Don't worry about that. So two school of thought is there. Later on, some letter was also leaked, like in like one British Parliament member, Lord Palmerston. He gave very beautiful statement. He said that in India, actually, we started with a factory. That is true. In India, we started as a factory. This factory developed into fort. This fort developed into district. And this district over a period of time developed into provinces or province. And very soon, we acquired a lot of provinces and we started dominating the Indian subcontinent. So it was well planned. They started with factory, fort. So this statement was given by Lord Palmerston in the British Parliament. Clear? Similarly, Governor of Bombay in 1658 wrote an article to the British government. That time has now come to actually save our commercial interest with the help of sword. Means political domination is now necessary to actually rule over India. And in 1688, this principle was literally applied when they blockaded the ship of the mighty Mughal Empire. In Bombay region, in Surat region, they blockaded the ship of the Mughal Empire. But at that time, Aurangzeb was alive. Aurangzeb was alive. And he immediately crushed the revolt. Or bahut peeta. Okay, but I told you, Britishers, they were very smart people. Suppose if I beat you now, what will you do? 4 लोगों को पकड़ लाओगे. कैसे मारा? But Britishers, they were very smart people. When Aurangzeb defeated them, they said, sorry, sir, this will not happen again. They were very smart people. But credit should be given to the Britishers because at that time they had actually very limited resources. Despite the limited resources, they actually challenged the mighty Mughal Empire at that time. Even. They dared to actually challenge the. So their intention was actually very clear. So two schools of thought are there. All this example is given in the NCERT. So two schools of thought. One actually said that Britishers, there was no intention. And second, they said that it was actually well planned, well intentioned. Because wherever they went, they started ruling the. So in this way, you must analyze both the aspect. Okay. So mains mein, whenever you get the question, try to analyze both the viewpoint. Are you getting my point? So this kind of question UPSC generally asks in the mains examination. Very simple. Each and everything what I'm teaching you is given in NCERT. You don't know how to read NCERT. Problem is this one. How to connect each and every point. Actually, UPSC, they are not asking question in silos. World history will be connected to modern history. Ancient history will be connected to modern history. Medieval will be connected to somehow, somewhat with world history. Even economy or polity will be connected to history. So they are not going to ask question in silos. Okay. Your approach should be comprehensive in nature. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for you to actually qualify the exam. Nature of the question will be very easy. Okay. You are not going to get question like you are getting in college. Simple, straight. Just fill the paper and you will get marks. No. Clear? So, two school of thought over there. So, this was the nature of establishment of British rule in India. Clear? So, note it down. Right? According to European historian, comma, British conquered India. British conquered India in a fit of FIT, in a fit of absent-mindedness. In a fit of absent-mindedness. In a fit of absent-mindedness. It was not the intention of Britishers to conquer India. It was not the intention of the Britishers to conquer India. As they came as to conquer India, as they came as trader, and and busy in commercial activities. Busy in commercial activities. And suddenly they found themselves as a ruler of India. They found themselves as a ruler of India. Next point. This interpretation was accepted by Europeans. Accepted by Europeans because it absolved them from the guilt. It absolved them from the guilt associated with British conquest of India. Associated with British conquest of India. Associated with British conquest of India. Paragraph change, right? But this viewpoint was countered by nationalist historian. This viewpoint was conquered by nationalist historian as they said that British conquest of India was the result of British conquest of India was the result of careful planning and design. Careful planning and design. Careful planning and design. Careful planning and design. Next point. Throughout the world, comma, no, comma nahi. Throughout the world, the European colonizer reached as a trader. Throughout the world, the European colonizer reached as a trader reached as a trader, and when they got the opportunity, and when they got the opportunity, and when they got the opportunity, they got the opportunity, they established their political domination. They established their political domination. They established their political domination. Next point. As Lord Palmerston said, as Lord Palmerston said, as Lord Palmerston said, quote unquote, as Lord Palmerston said, we begin with factory, said, we begin with factory, comma, the factory developed, we begin with factory, comma, the factory developed into fort, the factory developed into fort, comma, the fort expanded into district, the fort expanded into district, and district into province, and district into province, district into province. So this is the case. So in this way, you are going to analyze both the viewpoint, both the aspect. Okay, clear? So this was the nature of establishment of British rule in India. Okay. After that, fourth player is also going to enter in India, that is French. 4 important contenders were there: Portuguese, Dutch, Britishers, and French. See, British and French at that time, they were like India and Pakistan, you can say. Their relation was not good. They used to fight a lot of war, battles, etc., etc. Clear? So I told you already about Dutch and Portuguese. Why Portuguese were decimated? Why Dutch were confined mainly to Indonesian subcontinent? But French, they are going to give some challenge to the Britishers. Okay. So after 15-minute break, I will start the arrival of French also. And struggle is going to take place between the British and the French. And war will also take place. And the result of the war will decide who is going to rule India in the future.